Hello and welcome to this C programming video. My name is David Thorne. In this video we're going to be talking all about how to check whether a file exists using the stat function, and it will also be checking whether the directory exists and so on. So with that said, rather than just explanation, let's just jump straight into a demonstration. We can see here that we have this long file path here, users David Thorne desktop C arguments input text. And the file is there. All right, so we know the file exists. And if we now change this to be a bad path, for example, and we know that my file.txt doesn't exist. All right, so now we have two files, whether we can check do or don't exist. So what we need to use here is the sys, and then stat.h header. And this provides us with a stat function, all right? And you can see here that it takes a char pointer and then also a struct stat. So don't get confused by the function, then also the struct, okay? So in this, we're going to do the first example of the good path, and now we need a, let's just call it a good stat first of all. And here we need a reference to that because it was a pointer. So we can create this struct stats and just call it good stats, and the stats function will initialize this good stats. That's why we're passing it in as a reference, and this is then going to return let's just say a result good path here. This will return 0 on success and -1 on failure, and we can read the error using p error. Okay, so let's just check here to see whether result good path is equal to -1, and here we can then say p error, which we need the standard lib for that, or is it the standard IO? No, it's the standard IO we need for that. And we need to pass in then just a thing saying good, or say error. Let's just say error, nice and simple. And so now we know that it exists. We can just say exit there. And this is where we need the standard lib. I like to add the libraries step by step because it, one, makes me remember where the functions come from, and two, you also know where the functions come from, which headers you need to include when doing it, right? I think it's always important to understand. And obviously if it does exist, then good path exists, and then with results, and we'll just say %d, whoops, %d, and then \n. And we'll say result good path, and we'll go from there. And when we run this, we should see good path exists with result 0. All right, so let's now create a bad stat, and we'll copy and paste this because can't be bothered writing it again, and we'll just say result bad path, and here we can say bad path, and then bad stat as well, and result is equal to -1. Let's just say bad path error, and we're pretty certain that, well, we just see what it says here, bad path error, no such file or directory. So just by knowing, just by calling this stat on this literal string, we can see whether or not a file does or doesn't exist. Okay, so now rather than it being a good path to a regular file, let's just change it now to a directory and run this once again. And let's just we can say here, let's just put this above so at least we get some form of feedback here. And we see good path exists with result 0. So now we are testing the directory. So stat is basically, it doesn't really care about whether it's a file or a directory. It's just saying, hey, are you a file? Do you have a file descriptor? And if you are, I'll tell you not whether you exist or not. Okay, and this also works for the likes of links and stuff like that. But I just want to talk about files and directories in this one video. So now we know that the file exists, and we know that the the bad path doesn't exist, we don't need to test the bad path any further. And in all fairness, we can just get rid of the exit too. We'll let it go all the way down to the end. So now we are able to test whether or not good path is a directory or not. All right, we could place this call with inside of it here, but I'm going to put it in here instead. So now we can say I is, and we want to say I s is is directory. Yeah, here s underscore is directory, and here we are then going to say the good stats, and then we're going to say st underscore mode. All right. Oh, we just say good stats st mode. And this is going to do the opposite. So this one is a non-zero number. It's going to be okay. So as long as it's more than 0, then we know that this is a directory. So we can say good path is a directory here. And I suppose we could put the number in that it gave us, just to be clear, \n. And let's put that in there. And when we run this, you'll see that good path exists with result of 0, and good path is a directory 1687. All right, fair enough. So let's just make it bad now, and you can see that we come down to error, no such file. So really, it's very difficult to test this is a directory if it doesn't exist. However, we can now come to here and change it back to input.txt, and now you can see that we just get the bad error. Let's remove the bad one so we know we're only getting good information. Good path exists. Okay, so now we can come and copy and paste this to say s is reg here, which basically saying if or not this is a regular file, and if that is more than a 0 or non-zero, we can say then we will get good path is a regular file. So we'll just run this again. You can see here good path is a regular file with then the number that's spat out. So this is how we can work out whether or not a file exists first of all, and then to differentiate whether or not it is a directory or whether it is a regular file itself. Now obviously when we come and have a look at these, you can see that there is a block, is a character, and so char is a directory, is a first in first out, or a socket, regular file, symbolic link, or a socket here. So you can differentiate between the different types. Now from my my understanding here is that when you use then lstat instead, this is then going to check to see whether or not it is a symbolic link. All right. But just if you want to test normal files, I don't really use symbolic links really that much in code, but when we look at the documentation for lstats, you can see the lstat function is like stat, except in case where the named file is a symbolic link. Lstat returns information about the link, while stat returns information about the file the link references. Okay, so in essence, you'll it says information about the link it references. So this essentially, if you are pointing this at a link, this is going to then direct to the actual link itself. All right. So with that said, a really kind of simple video, but I think it's important to understand how you can test whether files or directories exist, so you can then create them, modify them, or do whatever. With that said, if you've got anything out this one video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and if you do have any questions, feedback, or concerns, then let's use the comment section down below to start a conversation. I just changed the date here. I'm creating this video on the 26th of September. So if you not aware already, I tend to bulk make videos. I made a whole bunch of videos yesterday, but they're all released at 12 o'clock every single day, Central European time. Now, if you want to have access to all of these videos as soon as I upload them and I release them, which is fantastic. Then you're more than welcome to become a member. There's no requirement to do so. If you don't become a member, then you just have to be a little bit patient, maybe for a week or 2 weeks until all of the videos are live again. But if you do feel that you want to support the channel even further than what you are already supporting it, considering you are watching the video all the way to the end, which is super brilliant, then consider becoming a member of the channel, and I will grow the perks that members have. Over time, I'll just have to see how this membership thing goes, first of all. It's not really there for the financial side of it. It's more there for the membership, the community side of it, to build a community so I can invest more time in to do these things for you. All right. With that said, thank you very much for watching. My name's David Thorne, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.